Imagine driving down a quiet road late at night. The world is silent. Just you, the person beside you, and the darkness. Then a stranger walks out of the shadows. Seconds later, gunshots echo through the night. But what terrified America wasn't just the murders, it was what happened next. A few days later, newspapers received chilling letters from the killer himself. He claimed responsibility, he mocked the police, and he promised, "I will kill again." At the bottom of every letter was a strange symbol, a circle with a cross through it, a symbol the world would never forget. It belonged to the man who called himself the Zodiac. More than 50 years later, no one knows who he really was. This is the story of America's most mysterious serial killer. It all began on the 20th of December, 1968. Near the city of Benicia, California, teenagers David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen were parked on a quiet road during one of their first dates. Someone approached their car. Moments later, both teenagers were shot. David died instantly. Betty tried to run for her life, but she was shot and killed before she could escape. At first, police believed it was simply another tragic double murder. They had no idea they were dealing with a killer who wanted the entire country to know his name. 7 months later, on the 4th of July, 1969, another young couple was attacked. Darlene Ferrin was killed. Her companion, Michael Mageau, survived despite being seriously injured. Less than an hour later, a man calmly called the police. He confessed to both attacks before hanging up. Then, on the 1st of August 1969, 3 California newspapers received nearly identical letters. The writer claimed responsibility for the murders and included details that only the real killer could have known. Inside the envelopes were 3 encrypted messages, or ciphers. The killer demanded they be printed on the front page. If not, he threatened to continue killing. One cipher, containing 408 symbols, was solved within days by a schoolteacher and his wife. It contained disturbing messages about enjoying murder. But one thing was missing: his identity. Because of the strange symbol he used, the media gave him a name: the Zodiac Killer. On the 27th of September 1969, he attacked again. This time, he wore a black executioner's hood with the Zodiac symbol stitched onto the chest. He tied up Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard before stabbing them multiple times. Brian survived. Cecilia died 2 days later. Before leaving, the killer wrote the dates of his previous attacks on the victim's car door. Then he calmly called the police to report his own crime. Just 2 weeks later, on the 11th of October, 1969, Zodiac murdered San Francisco taxi driver Paul Stein. Witnesses saw the killer leaving the scene. Police officers even came dangerously close to him. But because of an early communication error about the suspect's description, they unknowingly allowed him to walk away. It became one of the biggest missed opportunities in criminal history. Over the following years, Zodiac continued sending letters to newspapers. Sometimes he mocked investigators. Sometimes he included new ciphers. Sometimes he threatened more killings. He claimed responsibility for 37 murders. However, investigators have only confirmed 5 deaths and 2 surviving victims that can be directly linked to him. Many suspects have been investigated over the decades. The most famous was Arthur Lee Allen. For years, many believed he was Zodiac, but fingerprints, handwriting comparisons, and later DNA testing failed to prove he was the killer. In 2020, an international team of codebreakers finally solved Zodiac's famous 340 character cipher. People hoped it would reveal his name. Instead, it contained more taunts and bizarre statements. Once again, the killer's identity remained a mystery. In 2021, a private group called the Case Breakers claimed they had identified Zodiac, but law enforcement agencies said the claim was not supported by official evidence. Today, despite decades of investigations, books, documentaries, and thousands of theories, the Zodiac Killer has never been officially identified. A man, a symbol, a handful of cryptic letters, and a mystery that has survived for more than half a century. Somewhere, the truth may still be waiting to be discovered.